This is Upfront. So I've been telling you about what is perhaps the biggest story in the country today. That is, the President of the Republic of Ghana has, in a statement through the Director of Communications at the Flagstaff House, released the changes he's recently made to his government. This was issued just today, a couple of minutes ago, and we can give you the details in this particular case. John Peter Amawu, who was moved and partially made Minister for Energy in acting position in replacement of Ajako Boache, has actually been made the substantive minister now for energy. Now, Kweku Asumatreme, you do know him as a former regional minister of the NPP, former regional chairman of the NPP in the Brown-Afo region, made regional minister substantively. Now he is going to the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry, where John Peter Amawu is supposed to be. Now, we also understand that the Honorable Akufo-Addo, who is the Minister for Parliament, for specifically sanitation. Okay, so I need to take a break. When I come back, we'll continue our conversation. You're welcome back to Upfront. My name is Raymond Akwa. We need to take that particular break to fix a couple of issues. But now, the most important issues we are dealing with today is the President of the Republic of Ghana has made some changes in his government. I did tell you about John Peter Amawu, who was acting as energy minister after Boache, who was removed, is actually made substantive minister. He will not require any vetting again because he is moving from a different ministerial position to the other. Now we know that regional minister for Brown-Afo region and former NPP chairman for that particular region, Kweku Asumatreme, is now being made Lands and Natural Resources Minister. That was the ministry John Peter Amawu used to head. We also know that the Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources, the Honorable Akufo-Addo, who was also Member of Parliament for Navrongo, has actually been moved to the Ministry for Aviation. Cecilia Abena-Dapa, who was previously at the Aviation Ministry, has also been moved to the Sanitation and Water Resources Ministry. Now, the big happenings, which you should be in the know of, is that Dr. Mustafa Abdul Hamid, who was actually the information minister who would have been responding to some of these changes, is actually moved now to the Inner City and Zongo Development Ministry. So that is the other change you should take note of. Now, the other big thing happening at the Ministry of Information is Deputy Minister of Information Kojo Oponkroma has now been made the substantive minister in that particular ministry. He will require vetting because he's moving from a lower ministerial position to that of the substantive minister. He would have to go through vetting. Now, we know that Cynthia Morrison, who is a member of parliament for Aguna West constituency, has been made the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection. Cynthia Morrison is new to that ministry and also will require vetting. Paulina Tangoba Abayiri, who is former ambassador to Italy, is now the Apais regional minister. I'll be letting you in on exactly who is replacing her as the ambassador to Italy in this case. Otiko Afisa Jaba is replacing Paulina as Paulina takes a position as gender minister. She's also going to ambassador designate for Italy in this case. Perry Curtis Okujeto, who was deputy to Mustafa Hamid, together with Kojo Oponkroma and one other at the Ministry of Information, is moving straight to the Ministry of Youth and Sports. In his stead, the Ministry of Youth and Sports Deputy Pius Enam Hajde, who was recently reinstated after being suspended on the infamous Australian deal, is moving to the Ministry of Information as deputy. We also know that Roxin Bukari, who was former Upper East Regional Minister, has now been moved to the office of the President as Minister of State. That clarification on exactly what he's going to do, we'll be telling you later on this particular show. But the Honorable Boniface Abubakar Siddiq, who was until recently the Minister for Inner City and Zongo Development, of course, the Member of Parliament for Madina too, is going straight to also be a Minister of State at the office of the Vice President. Then Martin Otijako is a Member of Parliament for Tetima North. He is moving now to be Deputy Regional Minister in the very Ministry of, in the region that is a Member of Parliament of Brown-Afo region. Of course, he will require vetting as he's new to that particular ministry. Evans Opoku Bobie, who was a Sunafu North constituency Member of Parliament and former Deputy Brown-Afo Regional Minister, has been made a substantive Brown-Afo Regional Minister. So Deputy moves up, Tetima North MP moves into deputy position, And those are the changes happening at the Brunalf regional end. And I did tell you that the regional minister himself, the Brunalf regional minister, has been moved to the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry to replace John Peter Amewu in that particular ministry. Also, one more development that you should know of is what happened to Otiko Afisa Jaba's ministry after she was moved to be ambassador designate. Now, the ambassador designate for Italy is coming home from Italy to now head that Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. Her name is Paulina Tangoba Abayiga. We sure be getting reaction from some of these people who have been moved around pretty soon. But first, let's get some thoughts from the minority in Ghana's parliament. And as I did tell you earlier on, I have a colossus on governance and other matters in the studios here with me. Captain retired Budukumse is my guest. First, let's go to the full lines. I'll come back to you, Captain. Yeah, now, the Honorable ABF Hussein speaks for the minority in Ghana's parliament. Honorable, you're welcome to UPfront.
Yeah, and good evening to all your listeners.
Let me start off this way. The list looks interesting. Is this the kind of reshuffle that those of you in the minority have been calling for?
Indeed, not just those of us in the minority, but Ghanaians as a whole. The most important thing which the president has completely missed and which has rendered this reshuffle just mere musical chairs is that he should have cut down on this oversized, over-bloated government. My brother, nowhere on the face of this earth is there a government constituted of even 90, let alone 100, now 110, and even in this particular, 2 more ministers of state have been added, bringing it to 112 members. It's an insult to Ghanaians. I think that the president should have been reminded by the sensibility of the sacrifices the Ghanaians are making today, and the cries Ghanaians have been issuing to him, that he should reduce the size of his over-bloated government.
Let me be clear in my mind.
An opportunity to cut down on the size to about 70 or so, or even less. This is a president who touts is competent. When they were in opposition, they said they had the men, and that competence is their watchword. And if you look at the definition of competence, competence is achieving more with less resources. So he should have cut down on the number of ministers and let the efficiency show for Ghanaians to see. But unfortunately, he has completely even insulted Ghanaians with even an increase in the number of them, the ministers. I think he's missed it completely.
Okay.
The rest of the thing, I think the value is the same.
Now, let me look at the people that has been appointed. You start off as spokesperson for the minority, so let's start with the information. Now, Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah is moving from the deputy minister position to substantive minister. Is this a good move to you too?
I have no doubt. I have no doubt that Honorable Mustafa Hamid was up to the task and was competent. My colleague Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah also has been an astute journalist, and I can salute him on that score. That yes, that's an appointment that will start the boosted. Except the experience angle is a problem. But I think that place is okay.
Okay, so when you say experience angle, exactly what did you mean?
No, I mean that Mustafa Hamid is relatively more experienced. Absolutely, that's what I mean. I'm by no sense of logic saying that it's not competent to fill that post.
I get you.
Saying that in terms of having been a politician for all this while, Mustafa Hamid is relatively more experienced. But I think that Honorable Kojo Oppong-Nkrumah is up to the task. I believe he may be able to perform.
And you're of the opinion that the requirements of the office may tilt towards more political communication in this case. Now, but let me come to another point that you'll be interested in. Gender Social Protection Minister has been moved. You in the minority had a lot of concerns about her joining her vetting. She's had somewhat a tumultuous stay in the office as minister in that ministry. She's going to be something else. Do you think that change too is a good change?
Yeah, you see, like I was saying, even for the information and in information, under the NDC, we had one ministry for communication that also handled information.
Yeah.
And it worked very well. So I thought that there could have been some realignment by the president to ensure that in cutting the numbers, if we could have looked at such an example and gotten a very competent person to handle those issues and then get two deputies to run with the substantive minister. And that would have made for the change. But I think that from Otiko's place, from day one, just as yourself, ever since he came, what has the ministry achieved? A lot of it has been turmoil. And the one who is coming, we know very little about the person who is coming. So it could still end up in the same scenario of a square peg in a round hole. And Ghanaians would not have value for money.
Oh, but the one who is coming is in parliament with you. She is actually the member of parliament for Agona West constituency. How is it difficult for you to appreciate that she's
I'm
her
saying
competence?
That, yes, I'm not by any means delegated, but I'm just asking that what does the person bring to the job? What experience? What expertise?
Now,
what public acclaim? So those are the things that we are looking for.
And being a member of parliament is not enough, right?
I'm saying that it's not enough. Of course, you need some other qualities to go with you. And even if you are a member of parliament, you must also look for the pedigree of the person in parliament.
Okay.
How much has the person contributed to debates and to the work of parliament? How outstanding has the personality been? So those are this. You want to put your best foot forward. That those who have excelled in parliament have made the news, have made the work of parliament more trenchant. Are those you want to fill? This is a government that is almost ending the second year. From next year onwards, we are going to be in an election mood. And so you need to put forward your best foot. So far, this government, if you look around, the 110 ministers, I will tell you, majority of them have been asleep.
Now, on your screen is actually the Minister for Water Resources and Sanitation. What do you think about Joseph Akufo-Addo's performance in office and subsequent change to be at the office of the president?
Yes, I mean, obviously, there are many people who have considered he or she by saying that the situation in the country, the filth that has engulfed the country has even worsened, far worsened. And sanitation has deteriorated markedly since the Akufo-Addo government assumed the reins of government of this country. And so there are those, but also go and look at even the resources that have been made available. This government has just, even in a number of cases, giving people responsibility without even giving them money to perform. Look, I just give you the example of Honorable Boniface Sadiq. When he was appointed Minister for Zongo Development.
I was coming to that.
Yes, and I know that Sadiq is a very competent person. But out of the allocation that was made, we were told that even government had made available a seed money of 200 million Ghana cedis. My brother, what was ultimately released to Honorable Boniface Sadiq to work was 500,000 Ghana cedis. 500,000 Ghana cedis. I'm not talking of you 1 million Ghana cedis. 500,000 Ghana cedis. Yes, this was trumpeted around the Zongos that the ministry has been created to come and work for the Zongo. Up to now, no wonder. That's why there has been no marketable impact. Not because Honorable Boniface Sadiq couldn't work, but because even resources were not given to him to work.
Okay, now let me also understand this from you. For Sadiq, he's going to the office of the vice president. Do you think that's a demotion as Minister of State?
My brother, that is certainly a demotion. Certainly. I mean, from a minister exercising oversight responsibility for a particular ministry, now being moved into the office of the vice president, not the office of the president. I mean, that clearly is there. When the house has fallen, you don't ask whether the roof is still standing. I'm sure that is clear.
All right. Now, finally, let me ask you about John Peter Amewu. He was Lands and Natural Resources Minister. Many applauded his work with the fight against Galamsey. He's moving to energy. Optimistic he would be better than Boache Jacko?
My brother, I think that is a very specialized area. Energy it's a more challenging area than you have for lands and natural resources. So I think it's too early in the day to begin to make predictions. I'm sure that he himself would have to adjust to the work because that's a completely different terrain, different emphasis, different expertise, and different composure and demeanor that he needs to bring to that job.
Would your mind change if I tell you that he has an MBA in finance, he has a postgraduate degree in executive MBA in industrial energy and international energy management, and also has a master's in petroleum finance and taxation? Indeed, he's a cost engineer. Does that qualify him to be an energy minister?
Yeah, I'm not saying he's not qualified to be there, but I'm just saying that it is too early to begin to have his credentials as a basis for an effective performance at the ministry. I'm sure it is early days yet. Let's wait. I overall, in honesty, I see this reshuffle as just musical chair. No. I don't see much. And like I said, the biggest foot that the president should have put forward in this reshuffle would have been to cut down the number.
To exactly what number?
My brother, that's why the many people are suggesting between 70 and maximum 80. That is why people even, many Ghanaians are crying and saying that It's a rape of the resources of this country. It's a rape, unnecessary burdens that have been put on the taxpayer. And we thought that should have been the best era he should have come out to deal with.
I'm grateful. The Honorable ABF Hussaini, he's Sangnaringu Member of Parliament. He speaks for the minority in Ghana's Parliament. His immediate reactions to the reshuffle that the President of the Republic of Ghana has done so far. I'll come in studio and have a conversation. I am talking to a man of extraordinary competence in so many areas. Captain Budukumsi, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I hope you are doing well.
I'm fine, and I greet good evening to the cherished listeners.
Since I'm already ambushing you with the presidential list, I have your permission, I'm sure, to let you share some thoughts on this particular people that have been. But first and foremost, the complaint is that we were expecting a reduction in the number, but I seem to have, with ministers of states, through introduction, virtually increased it. Is this a step in the right direction?
Well, that there is an increase in the numbers, that one I am not so sure what to say to that. I would say that, well, maybe it's getting one too many. But I think it's a step in the right direction, in the sense that in life, change is a constant. If you don't change, you die. And the change will also make sure that the other ministers who are also working are either waking up, or they are weak, or they are up to scratch. I don't know all of them personally.
Okay,
so I don't know their competencies.
You do is choose some of them, the ones that you know, the ones that you've encountered, the ones that you can speak about, and tell me what you think about them and where they've been moved to.
Okay, I think I've known Mr. Peter Amewu.
Okay, yeah.
We've known ourselves. I've got to know him. He's been on the national stage, and we all know how active and energetic he's been. Sometimes some say that he's even over-enthusiastic. And so when it comes to energy and enthusiasm and will to get things done, I think he's a right team member. Whether he's exactly the right fit for energy, that one I don't know. But I just heard you talk about some of his credentials.
Yes.
But I'm also the first person to tell you the academic credentials are one thing.
Okay.
Performance on the job is also another thing.
I see.
But it looks like he has what it takes, the basics, to do a good job in that sector. And I also understand that the energy sector seems to be one of the heaviest of the ministries. So therefore, no matter how good he is, he's been given a bigger challenge.
I get it.
And I wish him Godspeed, and I hope he's going to, I wish that he succeeds in delivering, because when they succeed, we all succeed as a nation.
Yeah.
So I know Peter.
Yes.
Madame Cecilia Abnadapa,
Yeah.
I know.
She's been in aviation for a very long time.
She's been in aviation, and
But
she's also a stickler for detail.
Yeah.
And she is also somebody I will also describe as an action woman.
Okay.
My experience with her is that when you talk to her about something, she doesn't forget.
Oh, okay.
And you bring it up, she picks it up. So I think, and then I also heard just about 2 days ago, someone was criticizing the sanitation and water, and another person said that it's one of the most daunting ministries at the moment in Ghana.
But to be fair, we set up a ministry which was virtually had nothing. There was supposed to be a chief director for the ministry. The whole ministry was new. They had to put in place all of this stuff with policies. And I've heard Akufo-Addo on several occasions complain about lack of resources to do the things he ought to do and all of that.
Yeah.
So
but I'm coming there. I'm coming there. So it is a place you need somebody with energy and also resources. Talking to the metropolitan chief executives when I go around, you see that all of them are complaining about the wherewithal to pay for those services, But notwithstanding that, I hear that we don't hear much about water, do we?
Yeah.
But it is what sanitation and water
resources.
where he has succeeded, we don't hear about. But where it looks like it's staring us in the face, we are lambasting him. And again, the issue about resources, how well
fair,
resourced.
this minister told us that in June, we would see maximum impact and reality on the ground when it comes to improvement on what they call it, the sanitation situation.
Sure.
He said that the president's vision of making Accra the cleanest on the continent, the effects, the signs will be seen in June.
So
but we are in August, and we don't seem to have seen much.
Well, I hope he is taking the time to do the planning.
Okay.
Planning is very essential.
Yeah.
Planning is very essential, and hopefully we've got an executor in Abnadapa to come and execute those plans that will let us see this maximum or big transformation in the sanitation industry. That is to Madame Abnadapa. That's what I know about. She's detailed, she's an action-oriented woman, and she does not forget things. Okay. And that speaks good for people. Dr. Mustafa Hamid, I would think the ministry he is going to, he's tailor-made for it. He's absolutely qualified with his qualifications in those areas. I think he's tailor-made for it.
Zongo and inner city.
I think so, because he will easily identify with the challenge. If you look, I think he's a lecturer in
Islamic studies at the
Islamic
University of Cape Coast. He recently got his PhD in the area.
He must have their psyche. He must have their psyche. He is a good communicator. He will be able to link. Communication is your ability to link into the people.
But if he was, why didn't he remain at the information ministry? Was your spokesperson for Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo for a very long time.
Sure. That doesn't mean that you don't move. But here we have maybe a specific issue that maybe his competencies will easily address that issue. You understand?
Far more better than the Zongo MP, the MP for Medina.
I am not comparing who was first and who was second.
I'm just trying to pick your brain on that. Yes.
No, I wouldn't go there because
I get you. Yes.
It's only those who are in evaluation and monitoring who would know how effective these individual ones have been. Upon Nkrumah, I would wish him Godspeed.
It's a big move, isn't it?
Yes. I fear too accelerated success. Psychological. I had my own trauma with it.
Okay.
So whenever people are succeeding too fast, I say, hold your horses. You understand?
I get you.
But he has the competencies. He's in the right place at the right time. Why not go with the tide? And I don't doubt his competencies in communication there. We all know how smoothly and how he's able to soak the pressure and how he's able to come out with his counters and all without ruffling too many feathers. So I wish him well. Honestly, I don't know them too much, so I wouldn't say, but the list is, we just got this list as we were coming to the studio.
Certainly.
And we will take our time with the CSOs and digest these things, and then we'll address it. But
Otiko Fisher-Jaba is also interesting. She was gender minister, social protection. She seems to have offended many. She fought former Northern Regional Chairman of the NPP. You remember with Bugri and Abu, they had to be called to the office of the president for the matter to be resolved along the line. She's been as a very sharp-tongued person, and when it came to children protection, the 4-year-old's case is one thing that came to mind. Such was no police officer and could not run, what they call it, with that report the matter. All of that culminates into her being pushed to Italy as ambassador designate. Is that a step in the right direction?
On that one, I would say I don't know.
How would you not know?
I would say I don't know whether with her demeanor, and what she's done. I don't know whether it will
representative.
I don't know whether it will make her a good diplomat.
Okay.
Diplomacy. Maybe that would be her area of competence. Maybe, but she ruffled a few feathers.
Yes.
When she was at the gender.
Yes.
And I don't know whether moving now to be a diplomat is going to tone her down or she's going to fit better. But I would have a bit of reservation on that one.
Okay. It's interesting to know that we're still on our frontier. My guest is Captain Budukumsin, retired. He is with Nexus Consulting. and you are the chief executive.
Sure.
Yes, of Nexus Consulting. Now, Captain, we will talk about other matters too, but finally on this reshuffle, do you think that we should expect something else coming from the presidency, especially when it comes to the numbers involved? It seems to have been a concern of some people out there.
Yes, the numbers has been a concern from day one. And I would say he is at the helm of affairs, and he is saying that I'm the chief executive officer. That is my strategic plan, and this is the plan I think will let me deliver. The results and the verdict will come in 2020. Now, in strategy, when you want to highlight a problem or an issue to give it focus, you elevate it from a normal day-to-day run-of-the-mill thing, and you make it a strategic objective so that you deal with it, you put resources, you put attention, you understand?
I get you.
Finance, attention, energy, everything, you highlight it until such time that it achieves a certain level of, what do you call it, maturity or realization before you can lower the attention on it. I would think that maybe the strategic aim here is to highlight all the areas he wants to improve at once. And then when they have been achieved to a certain measure, we would then maybe see the contraction where they will be grouped into normal groups. For instance, when it comes to transportation, then maybe all those facets of transport, when they have achieved a certain level of realization or a certain level of execution or maturity, you can then group them under one big one. But now, for instance, railways, if you subsumed railways under any ministry,
transport,
you know, it's a big one. It's of strategic, financial and developmental importance to Ghana at the moment.
I see.
We all see the effect. We are losing 2,000 lives a year.
True.
This is also an aspect of the lack of railways in the country. Look at the monies we are using in repairing all these roads year in, year out. And then how these rail will facilitate business, transportation, development, everything. Look, in Europe or in the Americas, when railways opened up the hinterland, things flowed.
Yeah.
Right? So if you are going to move mass, if you are going to move numbers, is rail. Not these trucks that we see plying the roads.
There's a question I intend asking you. Is there anybody you wished was on the list of reshuffle who's not on the list?
Interestingly, I've never looked at that point. I don't know. I've never looked at that point.
Security,
No.
for instance. You are an expert in that particular area. Security. Both Interior Minister Ambrose Derry and also the Defense Minister Dominic Netuwood. Have they performed to T for you?
Well, in Interior, you have to get close to him to know the sort of things that are being done in Interior.
Because we know what happened. We know that there were vigilantes all over the place. We know that it was within this period that we had terrible incidents happening. We also know that armed robbery became a big issue in this country. So,
are you talking in past tense?
Yes.
If it's past tense, then he's past. If it's past tense, then it means
the understanding is that he's fixed the problem.
He's fixing them. He's fixed and fixing them.
Oh.
If it's past tense, then he's past. You understand? Because I mean, as the government came up, he was confronted with all these big issues, and now it seems the thing is that once the thing is solved, people forget it.
Yeah,
and it's
true.
good. It's good that we are forgetting some of these.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so you did not expect any changes in security to both the Interior and the Defense Ministries?
Interior, Defense, and Security.
You think military men are happy?
I have my preferences, but I wouldn't.
No, see, for example, some said that Netuwood was way too non-military-like. He was not the kind of person that the military would respect. He was not the kind of person that would
Why wouldn't the military respect him?
Because mostly they want somebody who has experience, who has competence in their department.
It's not
coming
true.
from parliament and stuff like that.
It's not true.
Really?
I mean, if I remember, President Kufuor's brother, what was his name?
Kwame Addo Kufuor.
Kwame Addo Kufuor, was he a military guy?
No, he wasn't. But he took on the wee hours of the administration.
No, but
he was not in charge from the beginning.
No, but he was actually loved by the military.
I see.
Because of the thing. You see, in the military, they like you. I mean, you come in with your competence.
Okay.
It's you come in at a very high level. Yours is policy direction. What does the government want to achieve? This. And the military would love you to consult with them and leave the technocrats to do what is technical. Consult with them. And then once they've given you all the information, then you can give an order.
I see.
But when you don't consult with the technocrats, the generals, the commanders in the field, that is where they get a bit offended.
Really?
But once you've consulted and discussed things with them, you issue an order, whether it's for them or against them, they say yes, sir, and they
I
move
have a
on.
question. Do you think that Dominic Nitu is the best qualified person in this country to be defense minister? From your experience, you are a presidential guard commander. I want to
that's an operational position, and that's a small boy. You are not up there.
Yes, and I get your point.
That's way
you have
above my pay
experience in
grade.
the military, and I wanted to be clear in my mind so that people will know that you are not somebody who is far from the system.
Yes, but that's way above the pay grade.
I get your point, but you are no longer now. Now
Yeah.
you're a very competent person.
Yeah.
My question to you is that is he the most qualified person to be our defense minister in the Republic of Ghana?
I wouldn't know. How many? Which other people are there? Could he have done better? Yes, but is he fit to be? Yeah, the president knows him best. He knows the area, and if not, we still have 2.5 years to go.
I see. Are you expecting another list to come out pretty soon? Reshuffle.
I don't know whether this is the 2020 team.
Interesting.
I don't know whether this is the 2020
You don't think
team.
so?
I don't know.
You don't hope so?
Well, I don't think this is the final team.
You don't think so?
I don't think this is the final 2020 team.
It's interesting. I was asking about who you think should be in the final 2020 team anyway. We were hearing that the minister who's in charge of trade and industry, Alan Chemanti, may be moved. Were you surprised when his name was not on the list?
No, actually, I heard it yesterday. Was it on social media?
Yeah.
That he had even been asked. And for only someone to tell me he's even out of the country.
Yeah, it's not true.
Working for the country, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean,
You're not expecting that.
I'm not paying too much attention to the individual political appointees.
Okay.
My problem is that
how is the government as a whole functioning?
how is the country as a whole functioning?
Let me ask you this
It's a
question.
team.
Health Minister, Akufo-Addo.
Yeah.
Do you think he's performing?
Do I think he's performing?
If you are in the position to advise the president on whether or not he should stay or go or be moved, what would be your advice?
I don't know the people with medical competencies in the. If you gave me the chance,
he's an accountant. He has no medical
if you gave me the chance, I will go backwards.
Okay.
And take maybe Dr. Prempeh Boateng or
okay.
Kofi Akusa or God knows what. But we should give the chance for new faces also to come up. Right? And you see, at the moment, I think a lot of them are being stymied with resources.
Okay.
I think a lot of them are being stymied with resources. But I don't also accept that as a complete excuse.
The question I'm asking you is generally about how government is performing. It's been almost 18 months since the Akufo-Addo government came into power.
Yeah.
We can close our eyes and say that very soon it will be 2 years.
Yeah.
That means that half of the tenure is already going away.
Yeah.
Is he delivering?
I would say yes. Let me explain something. You see, I remember we used to crack a joke in the first few days, you remember? And the expectation was so high.
I spoke to you about the expectation.
Yeah, the expectation was so high, and the frustration was also so high. And it was a bad mix. And in that context, if Nana Addo's government or the president, because he stood as a presidential candidate, if he had won maybe with 49.2, 51 or 50.8, that's a first past the mark, right? It would have been close, and then maybe because it was so close, the expectations would not have been also be hyped up so much. But here you are, the euphoria, the frustration, and everything, the hope that we all got, pushed the thing to 1.something million extra. The expectation was so huge. And because of that huge expectation, we are also not being realistic with the timelines with the expectation.
Okay.
We are not being realistic with the timelines of the expectation. I remember first
But
3
to be
months.
fair, I mean, they gave room for these expectations. They promised free SHS. They promised one district, one factory.
Well,
they promised to give villages dams.
yeah.
They promised to also
But
make sure
were
that
those promises promised within 1 year, 2 years, or 4 years?
No, but the difference is that, for example, on the one district, one factory,
Yeah.
the promise was that in the first year, 2017, we're going to get 51 factories.
Okay.
None materialized.
Okay.
So that's one of the issues that's been talked about in this case.
You will win some, lose some. It's a scorecard.
I see.
I think it's a scorecard. And I pray that Nana will not panic and be stampeded into taking hasty decisions. No, I mean, for instance, if we say you promised 51 and so the 51, the plants are not ripe, you don't build a sugarcane factory because I promised a factory before the sugarcane is planted. You understand? That sort of,
It sounds like Commander to me.
that sort of thing should be avoided.
I get you.
Just because of political expediency. I want to win a political point. I promise this political issue. And so therefore, please, you have 4 years. We can shout as much as we want. Leadership is not always too much. You have to take some painful decisions that you know will be good for us ultimately. But in the meantime, may not be that palatable. So he just has to stay on track. It's 5 years. If they said, politicians do, sometimes they promise plenty. if it's 4 years, you have a 4-year mandate. And I will encourage him to work in his 4-year time frame and not be in a hurry to score unreasonable political points.
I see.
But I pray he stays focused and the energy and the fire keeps burning.
He's on the right track.
I think he's on the right track.
Now, I want you to now single out where the problems are, where you ought to fix the problems.
In Ghana, where the problems are.
Yes.
You see, in our area of the world, I would say the biggest problem we have is finding the right style, model of leadership to lead us. Sounds strange, right?
Yes, I'm confused.
It's leadership.
I was asking you about the Akufo-Addo government.
No, you said in Ghana.
Yes.
Except I have misunderstood your question.
Yeah, oh, it's the same thing though.
Right. You see, I've been studying Rwanda and Kagame, and people keep on mentioning him. And I've been looking at Buhari and Nigeria, and I've been looking at Ghana and then Akufo-Addo. If you really want to achieve things fast and hard in our area of the world, 100% democracy like we are presenting it, you will get there, but it will take time. You want to move fast, you want to go the Kagame way. But unfortunately, Ghana is not the Kagame model.
Yes.
So he has to find the right type of leadership style that will push us. And that will also help him find the right type of ministers he's appointing with their psyche, with their character. The intrinsic person, for me, is more important than all the academic papers they have.
I see.
We have the producers who have literally not so literate, but they were achieving. You understand? We need to find the intrinsic people who can deliver. It has nothing to do with it has something though, but not so much the titles and the laurels and all these things, but we have to find people who can actually deliver execution, planning and execution oriented people, disciplined people, leaders, you understand? Leaders who are prepared to forego personal gratification in the short term for the good of the people. And these are the type of leadership models we have to struggle with. How hard should the president hit his ministers when they don't measure up? How soft should he deal with them? Yeah. That is it. I mean, when I say leadership, I'm talking about leadership on all levels.
Yes, but for example, President Akufo-Addo has sacked the minister. he suspended 3 different ones at different times, some reinstated along the line. He sacked CEOs of several state institutions. Is that
Several?
Yes, several. We know of Kolebu, we know of the Bok Oil Storage and Transportation, we know of Minerals Commission too. So is that kind of leadership that's required to steer Ghana the right direction?
Hardcore. I would say that and more. When they don't deliver. I don't wish that on him. Okay. These are his friends. These are people he knows. But when Ghana sees that even the guys close to me, when they do not measure, when they do not deliver, I'll let you step aside. We can drink beer at home, but on the job, you will not be part. You get it?
I get your point.
That is the sort of leadership and the team I'm looking for.
I see.
And you've said it, he's demonstrated it.
Yeah.
Sometimes in our haste and expectations, right, we bay for blood too early also. You know, the least thing, sack him, the least thing, sack him. You know, when there's too much change.
see evidence that he's working.
But
you have to see evidence that he's delivering on his promise, that he's not going to be the dog that's going to be hanged in this case.
Sure,
you have to see these evidences.
Precisely, but in the 1.5 years' time, you want him to sack 1/4 or half his
I mean,
team.
if they are all not performing and if they are all not doing the work,
that means you didn't do a good selection there. You understand?
That's the signal that it sends out there. Okay.
But then you see that when he has had to cut. You see, I had a boss in Germany who said, Ben, as a leader, sometimes you have to allow people to mess up once or twice, big time, when you got to kill them.
Okay.
Leave them. The moral of it is that you don't kill them at the least opportunity. Let them learn. If it's deliberate, that is a different issue. If it's criminal, that is a deliberate issue. But they have to mature also on the job. Because if we were dealt that brutally ourselves, maybe we would have survived to be there in the first instance. So, you know, not that sort of deadly or wicked leadership, but it has to be stiff.
If I ask to rate the president and the performance of this government so far, the economy, the social services sector, and all the adjoining sectors, do you think what would be your ranking for 1 to 100 percentage?
Overall,
yes.
I would not take anything in isolation.
Yes.
Overall,
yeah.
Well, it's still in the works.
Yes.
It's still in the works. So far, I would say 75.
75.
Yeah.
That's a very good grade.
Because the situation he met was very tough.
I see.
I mean, we've forgotten about when we didn't have water. We've forgotten about when we didn't have power. We've forgotten about when companies were folding up and sacking people and putting them on the streets. You've forgotten? We forget so early. And that's just about two, three years ago, right? And you see,
but that has not stopped in this case. For example, when these 5 banks collapse, people are going on the streets.
People are going to go on the streets.
Yes, and it's being said now.
What do you call these are heritage problems. These are things you inherited.
Okay.
I mean, for a bank to collapse this year, didn't start on his watch. Things must have been going wrong sometime.
Yes, of course.
So it's a heritage.
Except to say that, for example, when you take a bank like Construction, for a bank like Sovereign, for a bank like Beige, they got the final certification in 2017.
Yeah, but then it's a process. Do you know how long it takes to get that? Sometimes the public has to be educated.
Okay.
Do you know how long it takes to get a banking license? I don't know, but I don't think 1 year will be very fast. 1 year will be very fast. It's a process. It's a long process. So these are legacy issues.
I get your point.
Which, unfortunately, trying to run, these are holding his leg and pulling him back. And he will have to tarry and resolve it. And these things, I don't know, don't draw me too much into that area.
But I'm going to ask you the question that, I mean, listen, we've had 5 banks virtually collapse in ways that, apart from the impact on the workers, apart from the impact on the economy, it's a sign that many are worried about. But the Bank of Ghana says it's a step in the right direction to save our banking sector. Do you believe so too?
I do.
Really?
Yeah. If it's bad, you excise it. If it's rotten, you deal with it. You don't paper over it. Maybe I don't know. The issue is that you see, when we are now dealing with social media and we are trying them in the court of public opinion, and what we hear, evidence is now being is going to come out, and then we will see the facts.
Okay.
But from what we are hearing, if licenses are acquired, having some people having strategically planned to circumvent the system, to cheat the system, to beat the system, if you are found out, you should be punished immediately. I understand some graduates had to have their degrees withheld because they found out that their O levels or A levels.
Yes. It happens a lot of the time. Yeah.
The same thing. I mean, if you acquired it fraudulently, you should be punished. In fact, you are not fit for purpose. You should not be allowed in that space.
I see.
Yeah, because the financial industry, the financial system is based to a large extent on confidence. So if you have criminals in there misbehaving, you will break the confidence down and things will go awry. At the moment, others who have done nothing are now being buffeted by strong winds.
That's true.
That is the confidence thing I'm talking about. And it's panic. When panic sets in, I mean, there's no reason. And I don't know the totality of it, but honestly, if they were actually, these licenses were acquired fraudulently and deliberately, it looks like it was planned. Yeah. This runaround of the monies and then comes bank and all these things. It doesn't augur well for us. And I am particularly sad because it looks like it is affecting the indigenous banks. So when are we going to grow to compete?
So for all the collapsed ones are indigenous banks.
When are we going? It's an indictment on us. I'm personally sad for so many reasons, but it's an indictment on us.
I mean, not because you worked at UT Holdings. It's not because of that you are sad.
Well, I worked at UT Holdings, not UT Bank.
I know. But, I mean, you say you are sad.
I'm sad because it's an indictment on all of us.
I see.
It's an indictment on us, you see, and it doesn't speak.
But for some time, we had hope that we were going to have an indigenous banking sector flourish, that Ghanaians were going to take over, that we were going to be treated by our own people, we are going to grow big businesses from this indigenous banking sector. But it all looked like a fluke, really. And the reality in the documentations doesn't show that we were ever prepared for it.
Oh, we were ever prepared for good banks?
Yeah, for having indigenous banks that can stand and actually be on its own and prosper properly.
We were.
Really?
We were. Some due diligence and some care. Some due diligence and some care was not taken. I didn't know. I had no idea, but I had this gut feeling that too many banks were being given licenses at a certain point in time, whether it was good or it was bad. But I had a feeling that they were springing up like God knows. Yeah. And I had some trepidation about it.
Really? So first of all, it was good news anyway.
Yeah, I know. And then after 3-4 years, now we see. You see, in these industries, you do something today, the results comes further down the line.
I see.
You understand? And those butterflies I had in my stomach seems like they are coming to term, and it's not a good one. But you see, that doesn't mean that we are not capable of doing it. We are capable of doing it.
But these were our best of people who put up this bank. So it's not it's not as if they were riffraffs that we put in there. No. These were our best of brains, to be fair. In this case, that set up these banks. It's not like the banks came from nowhere. They were people you would respect has been in the financial sector for a very long time. People have done other things and have pedigree and have distinguished themselves in those areas. Is that not worrying to you?
It's worrying. That is the more reason why the worry is high.
Oh, okay.
It's worrying. And very often I say that one big issue I see with us in Ghana is that we have too many emotional babies sitting in big positions. Emotional intelligence.
Oh, okay.
We have, the academics are there. I mean, they can't perform all these things. But when it comes to the intrinsic you,
Okay.
I define emotional intelligence very simple as the intrinsic you.
I see.
Who is this person? It looks like we are faltering. It looks like we are faltering, and it's sad. And it's sad.
And all of this actually happened on the watch of the Bank of Ghana too. The Banking Supervision Division has come out for a lot of flack.
Yes.
They had sat and watched things where they're supposed to supervise, they didn't supervise. They virtually let things go easily. Some say maybe the legal regime did not give them enough powers, but others are saying that no. If indeed you are functioning even at 20% quality or capacity, you still should be able to see some of these things happen.
Well, let's say the view from the outside is always different. You are saying if they were functioning at 20%, I would say so. But you see, it's sad. It's sad in the sense that you see the people in there and they are all very well qualified.
Yeah.
How come that these things could happen for so long and they were not seen? Some of these things had, I say, heritage problems. For instance, if you took UT, for instance, took over a bank
Yes.
that a former governor of Bank of Ghana had,
Oh, okay.
right? And then by the time one saw that the rot in there was so bad, but we had Bank of Ghana people going to do supervision, auditing.
The same people.
Was it because of the former big man who had it? That is why they were not taking the appropriate, doing the right thing. Then we have Dufour. Dufour was also finance minister or Bank of Ghana.
Bank of Ghana governor first, became finance minister. Yes.
And also had such things. Then I ask, were they frightened? Were they frightened to take hardcore actions because of the big man syndrome?
Okay.
Or is it again back to who are we? Are we basically cowards? Are we basically liars? Are we basically lazy? You understand? Are we prepared to say that I don't care who you are, this is my schedule, and this is what I honestly have seen and will do, and damn the consequences? You see, it comes back to the people. Look, it's the human being at the end of the day. The intrinsic you, bring everything. Factors of production, they will tell you capital, land,
yes,
what your enterprise, what. But the most important factor of production is labor, and labor is you,
human being.
the human being. And I have a feeling that we are failing as a people, corporate people, in the area of the human being. Managing human resource in Ghana.
I see.
We are failing. I was part of corporate Ghana.
Yes, I know.
And we are failing in managing the human resource factor.
My final question to you is, I mean, there's this talk about improving the situation and making sure that going forward, these things don't happen again.
Yeah.
Are you convinced that we will put in enough measures to make sure we foster, for example, the corporate governance problems that the banks had? And also, what can we do specifically with the people involved so that it serves as deterrent to other people who want to be involved in these things?
Well, when we say corporate governance
Yeah.
in the whole of the banking or the business sector,
Yeah.
well, there are rules and regulations. It's enforcement. Two, the people we are putting in place to do these things, how well equipped are they? How well equipped are they?
As in the Bank of Ghana, people are supposed to do the enforcement.
Yeah, how well equipped are they? They should be well equipped. The boards themselves should also be well equipped.
Yeah, there's a thing that's coming up that some of these boards are not competent enough.
Yes, the selection process to the boards. The selection process, depending on the industry in which you are, certain competencies should be selected onto the board. What due diligence went there? Or this is my friend, this is my party man, this is my pastor, this is my cousin. What went in there?
Unfortunately, I've run out of time, but this conversation we should have again. My guest was Captain Budukumsin, competent man by all standards and qualifications. This has been UPfront.
It is so important for the more efficient